Okay, team, let's get ready. Katie, hit the admit all, please.
On it.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Coffee with Kashif webinar. We are going to have time for each of you to speak with the practitioner today. Please have your reports in front of you. And when Dr. Varden calls your name, please unmute yourself and feel free to turn on your camera if you wish. We're going to start in 2 minutes. Thank you. Good evening, Dr. Varden. How are you?
I'm quite well. Thank you so much. I would like to say thank you for the participants coming this evening. I do want to say Kashif does feel very badly that he was unable to attend this evening due to a family emergency, which I just noticed in the chat that Sarah had to leave as well. So she will be missed and hopefully she can join us again some other time. Actually, that leaves a little bit more time for the rest of you who have joined us this evening. And of course, evening for me, I'm on the East Coast. I'm actually in Vermont. And a little bit about myself. My name is Dr. Laura Varden. I am a PhD, not an MD. And my background is more in biomedical sciences, neuroscience. I do a lot of work and have done a lot of work in cellular biology, molecular genetics, biomedical engineering. A lot of my focus was on looking at cellular aspects of the low back, doing low back pain, regenerative strategies, did a lot of work there. I also am a board certified holistic health practitioner and certified functional genomics practitioner, as well as a certified functional nutrition and lifestyle counselor. Outside of that, I am a mother, a grandmother, wife. have a wonderful family, and I am so pleased to be here this evening with all of you and standing in for Kashif, who's got very big shoes to fill. I also am one of the in-house clinicians here at the DNA company and actually do the work with clients who purchase one of our programs, whether it be our Genomics Discovery Program, Genomics Mastery Program, or even the Genomics Mastery Premium Program. If any of you are interested in entering and getting into any of these programs, please contact Client Care. We'll actually be dropping a link for information about that. And it could be something that you can actually request to work with me directly, and we can dive even deeper into your reports. So again, as Tracy had mentioned, if you could please have your reports out and ready to go, so that way when we discuss them, if I do have any specific questions, you can tell me and refer to that, because the only documentation I have for you is just a general report, not the details of it. So I do appreciate you being an active participant in this evening. So is there anything else that we need to mention, Tracy, before I call on someone to start?
No, doctor, you can begin right away. Thank you.
Beautiful. Okay, so it looks like we have, let's take first person I see, Laura Butler. Can you please unmute yourself? And if you'd like, you can actually turn your camera on as well. Thank you.
Hello.
Hello, so nice to meet you. Thank you for coming.
Absolutely. I'm super excited to get more information about my reports. So my first question is, in my inflammation report, and I actually think this happened in a few places, not just inflammation, but that's the one I'm referring to. If you have both suboptimal and optimal genes, do they balance each other out, or does it depend on which genes we're talking about? I'm curious about that.
That's a very good question. And what I would say is yes, and it depends. So when you're talking about your inflammation report, that is covering quite a few detoxification pathways, specifically your antioxidation, glutathione conjugation, methylation, and your vitamin D. So which areas in particular, or which pathway in particular are you talking about?
Well, so the four, my vitamin D is considered suboptimal.
Okay.
My methylation cycle is suboptimal. In fact, it's really bad. It's red.
Okay.
My glutathione, how do you say that?
Yeah, well, it's glutathionization, but technically it's glutathione conjugation. That's the name of the pathway. But go ahead.
It's suboptimal, but the last one is the way my body uses
Antioxidants.
Yeah, sorry.
No, you're fine.
Toxins such as free radicals is considered optimal.
Okay.
So I've got those three that are questionable, and then the other one's really good.
Okay. So when we're looking and when you consider your detoxification pathways, they do work specifically on certain things. It's not like they are parallel roads next to each other that never cross, because yes, they do. Yes, they can also help support an area that is suboptimal or not working as well, but not enough that we can just say, okay, antioxidation pathway, pick up the slack for methylation, glutathionization, and everything else. We can't do that. So this is where we really need to support the particular areas that you need help. And this is where diving into the more specifically the genes of that pathway to see, to target, okay, this is how I need to support this particular pathway and how I'm going to support this particular pathway. We want to definitely laud and support and make sure that we support the good antioxidation. Yes, that works well. So we want to keep letting it do its job and not put too much strain on it. Okay, so I'm going to ask you specifically, in your methylation pathway, which genes are suboptimal? Do you have that in front of you? Like, is it the MTHFR, SHMT1, MTR?
I just pulled up the inflammation.
Okay. If in the sub-reports, there will be an antioxidation sub-report, there's a methylation sub-report, there's the, it says glutathionization sub-report. So if you can open up the methylation sub-report, please.
So what's the question again?
Okay, is your MTHFR suboptimal?
Yes,
Okay, is the SHMT1 suboptimal?
they're all suboptimal.
Oh, every single one.
The only one that's not is, how do you tell? It's AARS 1801131 AA.
Okay, the ones that I want you to look at, because I don't have the RS ID numbers memorized.
Okay.
If it's MTRR,
MTRR suboptimal, SHMT suboptimal,
What about
MTR suboptimal,
oh, okay,
and FUT2 suboptimal.
okay. All right. So in order to support your methylation pathway, this is something that you definitely need your B vitamins. Okay, this is something that I always lean into getting your nutrients from your foods first. Just like Hippocrates says, food is thy medicine, medicine is thy food. Now, of course, living in the day and age that we have now, food is not as nutrient dense as it used to be. Okay, so we still should focus on food, good, healthy food. Okay, so we're talking, B-rich foods, your meats and eggs and different things like that. Now, once you get, if you need a little more support than food, then I like to go to whole food supplementation. For example, beef liver capsules are actually very good. Because they have a full array of your B vitamins. They also have, iron and copper and magnesium and all of these different trace minerals and essential nutrients that you need as well. Then you can actually get into more targeted supplementation depending on like what your current B levels are, how things are working. And in your case, this is what's important because you are suboptimal in the SHMT1. That tells us that you really should have an adenosyl folate. Okay, and this is B9. It doesn't, if you type in adenosyl folate and look for that supplement, you're not going to find it. It's actually in the supplement form. It's called folinic acid. Okay, that is what you're looking for. That's the form that your body needs. Otherwise, if you take methylfolate, which a lot of people do when they have an MTHFR suboptimal, they could overmethylate themselves. And that's not good because that can cause anxiety and headaches and a lot of other issues. So this is where you want to lean toward the adenosyl or, under folinic acid form of B9. Also with your MTR being suboptimal and with the FUT2, this works with your B12. Okay, which is called cobalamin. You would not be so much a candidate to take a supplement of methylcobalamin because again, you could overmethylate yourself. So this is something that you would want adenosyl cobalamin. And because your FUT2 is suboptimal, you're not going to be absorbing that in the gut as efficiently. This is where having a sublingual form of adenosyl cobalamin would be more appropriate for you. And in this, we do carry in our DNA-inspired supplements exactly that, a sublingual adenosyl cobalamin form. Also, we have a methylation optimizer. which gives you your B vitamins in the forms that you need, along with other nutrients that help support that methylation pathway. Okay. And we've got another couple minutes. So I do want to hit on a couple of the other pathways. So first of all, for your vitamin D, pretty much if you're suboptimal, that means that either the transport, your GC gene, which is vitamin D binding protein gene, or the vitamin D receptor gene is suboptimal. Now, in that respect, there is an appropriate, more optimal way of taking D3. And this is something where, honestly, if you live in the northern latitudes, which, by the way, where are you?
I'm in Texas.
Okay. Yeah, but even then, that's still far enough north, you'd be surprised, where even if you get out in the sun, you're probably not going to have enough vitamin D to be converted. And I don't know if your conversion, the CYP2R1 is dysregulated or not, because in which case, even with the sun, you're not converting that D2 to D3 very well. So in that respect, you'll want to supplement with D3. The thing is how much. This would come into what your vitamin D levels are. Have you had a blood work recently, or do you know your vitamin D levels?
I know it's low, and
Okay.
I'm on D3. I can't tell you off the top of my head how much, but I am taking D3.
Okay, so depending on what your levels are, a safe amount would even be 10,000 IU a day. But because of the suboptimal pathway that I just explained, you're going to want to take it in 2 to 3 separate doses, because your body is not going to be able to utilize one bolus dose, meaning taking a 10,000 IU just once a day. A lot of it's going to get wasted because you're not transporting it well. Okay. So this is something that you want to take it, like I said, at least twice a day, maybe 3 times a day, but not after 3 o'clock, because vitamin D has a half-life of 6 to 8 hours. And it is the sunshine molecule. Our bodies will think, when it has it, it thinks that it's daytime. It should be up and doing things. So this is where, you want to make sure to not take it after 3 o'clock. Okay. All right. So I'm sure some other people might have similar questions, but if we end up having more time, we can dive into the other pathway, the glutathione conjugation pathway. Okay.
Thank
All right.
you.
You're very welcome. Thank you, Laura. Okay. So next up, I see Alan. Alan, could you please unmute yourself? And if you want, turn your camera on.
Okay, how are you tonight? How's
I'm
everything?
quite well. How are you?
Well, it's an interesting journey because I've been certified as a health and wellness coach and moving forward with hopefully to take a board exam in a year or so. So promoting DNA company is going to be part of my practice. So
Beautiful. Oh, that is fantastic to hear. I
Yeah.
love to geek out with with other practitioners for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. So what is it that I can help elucidate for you this evening?
Okay, a couple of things to keep it very brief.
Okay.
I'm somewhat gluten intolerant, but not where I have an issue genetically that way where I couldn't have gluten. But I was thinking about taking spermidine, which is a wheat derived product. Is there any concern for, I might increase inflammation if I take a supplement like spermidine and maybe, not take 2,000 grams of it?
Right. Okay. So when it comes to that, I want to ask you some more questions when
Okay.
it comes to gluten intolerance and etc. A lot of times when it comes to gluten sensitivity, it may not be the gluten. A lot of times it is the toxins that are attached to the wheat itself, the glyphosate, atrazine, a lot of these other pesticides and chemicals. And I'll tell you, it's very unfortunate, but even for some organic wheat, they say organic, they still have found, independent labs have actually found some glyphosate, because depending on where the particular fields are, if there is a farm that does use glyphosate, yes, they have to have physical barriers like trees, bushes, and other things, but you still have wind and other weather that can blow that, especially when they're spraying, with the planes or anything else. So it's difficult to truly, hold back, with that. So
In Europe, they banned glyphosate, and so the
yes.
products made from wheat from Europe. So,
Right. Have you ever tried any of those products
well,
from
well,
Europe?
I'm a like a practitioner for spermidine longevity
Oh,
labs. Yeah.
fantastic. Okay. So again, my question would be more, is it so much the gluten insensitivity? How do you respond to gluten in general? I mean, when you have eaten breads and other things, do you have like a severe reaction? Maybe just slight uncomfortable? What kind of reaction do you have?
Well, it's kind of complicated when you have a microbiome that has been compromised over the years with antibiotics, and I have autism, high functioning autism.
Mhm.
So, there's a biomarker, unfortunately, with your microbiome being compromised.
Yes.
So I've been, working on that. So to answer your question, I don't know. I don't think I get any gas or bloating. Whether or not my C-reactive protein marker goes up or not, probably not, because I'm using high quality fish oil twice a day, and I'm practicing, restricting simple sugars because I'm pre-diabetic according to the DNA report.
Well, okay, I need to, stop you there for just a moment,
Sure.
because your DNA report does not diagnose being pre-diabetic.
Okay.
Those are situations, you weren't born pre-diabetic, you weren't born diabetic. What our DNA does is it tells any particular propensity or risk.
Weaknesses, yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
But it absolutely does not mean that
That
you
you're going to
will
be.
get that particular disease or chronic condition. That comes from actually doing
Lifestyle.
exactly, because it is one of those things that the genes, any type of issue that you might have, or I can't say issue that you have, a
Emotional
propensity
stress.
or a risk, right? Or a propensity or risk to stress if it's not managed correctly. Those things are the genes themselves is just a bullet in a gun. It's a
And
loaded gun, but it's laying on a table. It's a
Yeah.
glorified paperweight. The thing that actually can cause the problem for that gun to go off is bad diet, a poor lifestyle, high toxic load. That is what actually can pick up that gun and pull the trigger.
well,
Okay.
that's what happened to me on a poultry farm, a commercial poultry farm as a little
Oh,
boy. And it was loaded with pesticides,
yeah.
fecal matter in the air, dust, 25,000 layers. My dad managed a big poultry farm, and both my brother and I have sarcoidosis.
Gotcha. Okay.
So that dysregulates vitamin D.
Right.
So it's more of a challenge than what the DNA report is saying, that my vitamin D metabolism is normal. But if you take too much vitamin D with sarcoidosis, you get granulomas.
Right. Okay. So keeping that in mind, when I just want to circle back to the spermidine.
Okay.
I I have to say, without really diving more into your history and looking at your actual DNA, like the specifics of your DNA report. Okay. I'm not saying this as a direct recommendation. This is just some ideas and also working off of, I actually have a client who has a late stage sarcoidosis. Okay. So this is something that you could possibly use spermidine unless you really have a gluten sensitivity, like a stronger gluten sensitivity, because I know with spermidine, they do say if you do, then you should not take that product. I think that there may be some other things that you could certainly look at and focus on that could be useful to help support your detoxification pathways, your lungs. I don't know if you've ever looked into NAC, N-acetylcysteine, that very much helps support lungs, lung health, your glutathione conjugation pathway. Taking that in conjunction with bioflavonoids are very important and are very helpful when it comes to lung issues.
Does it polyphenols help or no?
Polyphenols, yeah, because they have the antioxidants, bioflavonoids. These are like your vitamin C's, your high antioxidants. And I mean, they do have supplements in full script. If you become one of our clients in one of the programs, this is something that we can actually get you set up with, and as well as working and having some of our own DNA inspired supplementation. But that's definitely something I would look into and consider to speak with your doctor about, just to make sure, you know, everything is copacetic and on the same page. But I think that's supporting that lung health, getting your detoxification taken care of, and even speaking with your doctor about a detoxification protocol might be in order. Okay.
So an endocrinologist would be helpful.
Endocrinologist, pulmonologist, depending on whomever
Right.
you're working with.
Okay, great. Thank you.
My son is actually a respiratory therapist at
Oh,
2 hospitals.
oh, well, I'm actually slowing down the progression, so I'm doing something right. So
Absolutely.
thank
You're
you.
very welcome. All right. Take care. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay. Let's see who's next. Let's go. I see Bill. Can you please unmute yourself, and you can turn on your camera if you wish. I can't.
It sounds
hear-
like he's having some audio challenges. Bill, just to let you know, you're coming in very garbled. If you could maybe turn off your microphone and then turn it back on. No, still the same problem. Is it possible for you to call in? How about we go to Alan?
Alan just Alan just
I
next.
read, I'm sorry, I'm reading Alan and I'm looking at the name underneath. Farouz. How about Farouz?
I don't have a
you want to know
report for
about me?
Farouz.
Yes. Hi.
Hi, Farouz. I don't happen to have a report for you. Do you have your report?
You know, I did buy an old report way before COVID in a conference, and we did it at my office with my assistant the last day that it was valid. So I have it, but I haven't looked at it because I just haven't looked at it. I was interested in one question because on my report, my ApoE is 3.3, but when I did it with Quest, it was 3.2. So that inconsistency is surprising to me. And I've heard that some of the tests with genetic testings may not be absolutely accurate. So I don't know why I'm in one lab 3.3 and one lab 3.2.
Okay, and actually I would have the same question because it's like, which lab is the correct one? So that is something that,
I can speak to that, Dr. Varden,
yes,
if you.
please.
Hi, Rose. My
Hi.
name is Tracy Wood. I'm the CEO of the DNA company. We have seen this happen a few times over the last couple of years. And when we went back to our lab, we run our samples twice in order to ensure accuracy. And we have a 98 to 99% clean rate on our lab testing. So what I would maybe recommend for you is go back to the lab that had the differing results and ask them what their clean rate is and how many times they're running the sample. And if it's anything below 95, chances are that could be where your error came in. And we've seen that happen quite a bit. It's actually quite common.
95 what of 95?
It's a 95% clean rate when they rerun the data.
Okay. Okay. And where on the report is the vitamin D transporter? At least this may be an older version.
Well, that's an older report. That was what Dr. Varden was sharing with you. We couldn't find your report because we usually give the doctor the clinical report when you come into the webinar. So you have clearly a much older report, but what we can do, because you did go to all the trouble to come in, if you can send an email. In fact, I'll have client care who's on the call right now, drop the email address in the chat. So you can send an email maybe and attach your report. Dr. Varden can take a look at it and she can send you back an individual note consistent with what you're looking at.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Client care, put that information in the chat window, please. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, and as for the question that you have, try to be as clear and precise as possible because that will help me to answer your question as precisely as I can. Okay.
Thank you.
You're
Excellent.
very welcome.
Doctor, let's try to see if we can get Bill's audio working. Bill, would you unmute, please? And if you'd like, turn your camera on. We cannot hear you, sir. Can you change microphones, possibly? Can you type into the chat window if you can hear us? You can hear us. Okay, excellent. Okay, on the bottom of your screen, sir, there should be some options. One of them will be audio. Do you see that when you hover over it? It should be all the way to the left. If you see the button that says audio, and if you click on the upward arrow, you should be able to either reinstall your audio or disconnect your audio and dial in with your cell phone. Doctor, have we been through all of the patients on the call?
No.
We have Tina. Bill,
Yes.
we're going to go to Tina. Bill, type your cell phone number in the chat window. Client care, help him install his microphone, please. Bill, go ahead and mute if you will. Tina, unmute and turn on your camera if you wish.
Hi, Dr. Varden. I actually haven't had a lot of time to go through my DNA results.
Okay.
But one of the things that I did note is that when I was going through the diet section, I guess my camera's kind of cutting my head off. And one in the actual sort of like a I guess you'd call it the oral recording or the oral summary of my results for the diet recommendations. It said that my vitamin D levels were, or my ability to absorb the vitamin D was suboptimal in one part, and then in other parts optimal, and it's kind of a bit of a mix. But anyway, it was suggested that I take vitamin D in the oral part. I could take it 1 time a day, but then when I actually opened up like each little report, then it said take it like 2 different times a day to have the best absorption. But as you were saying before, just because our genes are suboptimal doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to get the diseases or the problems that are associated with those. Because my vitamin D actually is pretty good.
Can I ask you what your levels are?
I believe it's in the 70s.
Wonderful. Okay, good. That's more where I like to see them in the optimal range. I like to see them between 70 and 100 nanograms per milliliter.
And I
So-
do take vitamin D too on a regular basis because I'm in Canada and on the Atlantic coast. And so it does, we don't get a lot of sunshine.
Right. So you're obviously doing something right when it comes to taking your vitamin D. So good for you. Excellent.
So I do have another question. I have a question about the actual recommendations for the diet. So it says that because I have a predisposition towards having diabetes type 2, which is true because a lot of people in my family do have that. So it recommends to have a low carb, low fat diet. And so I'm just wondering, okay, what do I eat?
That's so funny because so many people say that. Okay, so when we're talking about low carb, low fat, when it has low fat, does it say like 20%, 10%?
I don't remember exactly what the percentage is. It's a fairly low percent, but I know with the carbs, it's like, I think 10 or 15%.
Okay, so what ends up happening is when it's saying about lowering your fat content, it's more so they're talking about saturated fats.
Oh,
not
okay.
the unsaturated fats. Okay. Because otherwise it's just like, oh my gosh, it's like there's fat in even a little bit of fat and even the lean meats. It's like, oh my gosh, I meet my full day supply and just like a couple nuts. So no, really, that's the saturated fat. And actually, I have that particular profile where, due to the TCF7L2 and the ApoE and a few other genes, that I am somewhat prone to diabetes, etc. And I can also gain weight more easily when it comes to eating a lot of carbs or carbs and fat together. So this is what you do. Yes, you can still have some saturated fat, but when you do, make sure, excuse me, make sure it is very well sourced. So if you are having, say, meat, red meat, make sure that it is grass-fed and finished. That's very important, okay, to be finished with the grass as well. Making sure that if you have pork, that it's the heritage pork. You want to lower any type of toxins that you are taking in, because that's where toxins are held, are in the fat tissue. But the only thing is, like, only have the fattier meats or have saturated fats, fewer and farther between. Be sparing. Make it a special occasion every once in a while. Okay. Because I mean, honestly, that's where the flavor is.
Yes.
But there are still plenty of other lean cut meats that are absolutely delicious. It's a matter of the way that you cook it, generally slower to help break down those protein fibers to make it nice and delectable, using a lot of different herbs, fresh herbs, spices, because that definitely helps with antioxidants, with immune boosters. So there is a lot of food that you can eat. Also looking at a lot of the different vegetables. Obviously, in some of the vegetables, they do have fat in them. Avocados are a wonderful source of omega-3s and unsaturated. Yes, it does have some saturated fat, but again, not as much. It's just start learning where saturated fat can sneak in. Okay. And also looking at other unsaturated fat sources. Olive oil is wonderful, avocado oils, different things. And I do have to state that not all olive oils are equal, just like not all meats are equal, not all vegetables are equal, when it comes to the beneficial aspects, because it is one of those things where I would pick the grass-fed and finished beef over like the CAFO cows or these large, places where they just shove all the cows together and, fill them full of antibiotics and everything else. I mean, obviously they're both red meat, but very, very different. Also, when it comes to fats, other sources of really good omega-3s and unsaturated fats are your fishes. Okay, doing salmon, but again, not too often because that can also have mercury. Going more toward your mackerel, your sardines, things like that. So yeah, as far as fat goes, like I said, it doesn't mean that you can't have any because we definitely need good fats, especially omega-3s. It might even be something that you'd want to take a look at your omega-6 to 3 ratio. It's a simple blood test. I believe, and tell me if I'm wrong, Tracy or team, if we have the blood test where we can actually look at that, because perfect. And if you are interested in getting any of these tests, you can actually contact Amy Partridge. They'll drop her email and information in the chat to be able to order any of these tests. But what it looks at the ratio of your omega-6 to omega-3. And why this is important is because, first of all, omega-6s are more inflammatory. Yes, we still need them. Yes, our body still makes them, but we don't want that ratio to be high. We really want it to be a 3-to-1 or lower. Okay. Unfortunately, in our Western culture, a lot of times we usually find it at 25/1 or higher. And that's not good because it actually changes the membrane fluidity of our cells. It makes them less malleable. We want them to be malleable to be able to move. And it actually makes them stiffer when you have high omega-6 ratios. And it just causes a lot more inflammation. So that's something to be aware of. As far as, excuse me. As far as carbohydrates, now something we have to be aware of is that carbohydrates are not just breads, pastas, potatoes, rice, okay? Vegetables, fruits, they're all carbohydrates. They all break down to simple sugars in our bodies to give us that, that energy. And really that's what it's for. So, when it's talking about lower carbohydrates, first of all, it means the starches. It means the breads, the potatoes, the rice. You don't want to go overboard on that, okay? Many times I will have meals where it's just my protein, whether it be fish, meat, the protein, and then the rest of it is vegetables, and then I'll have a little bit of fruit. Okay, so it's one of those things that you want your plate, you're looking at your entire plate and it's almost like piecemealing it out, okay? That out of all of your carbohydrates that, and I'm throwing these percentages out because I don't know your specific percentage, but saying that 35% should be starches, no more than 35%, and the remaining 65% should be your vegetables. Okay, and that information is in your report. Okay, kind of gives you an idea. And it's also one of those things that you can have protein fasting days, or if you're cycling through, you can have vegetarian days. You're still getting some protein depending on what it is. And the carbohydrates, again, it's a matter of looking at something that has higher in fiber and less starches. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Excellent. There's also a wonderful website, What the Bleep Can I Eat? It is so fun. Hang on, I'm gonna put it in the chat. This site is fantastic because if you have any restrictions, in particular, it it will, all you have to do is put it in, and it will give you a list of all the foods you can eat and the drinks and that fit within that particular type of meal, like for type of eating. Say if it's a what do you call it, anti-inflammatory diet, or a low oxalic diet, or something like that. You can click on it, and I just put the link in the chat. You can type that in, and then it will give you the full list of all the foods that meet that. So it's really neat. So, and it will help to expand your options to let you know, because it's already been curated. So you don't have to go figuring it out yourself. So that's a wonderful
That's good.
resource.
That's a good site,
Alright.
yeah.
Yes, I really do like that site. And you can even mark different things, like say you need a FODMAP diet and, you know, low histamine. You can click on both, and then it will limit down and show you what is still allowed. Okay,
Okay, perfect.
you're welcome. All right. And
Excellent. And if we can test Bill one more time. Bill, did we emailed you the call-in number, just so you know that? Let's see if your audio is working.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir, we can. Welcome to the
Yes.
call.
All right.
Wonderful.
Sorry about that. So the only problem, number one, thank you so much for your wonderful information and for the report, everything. I love it. My problem is insomnia. I'm taking the this deep optimizer and calming and everything, but I still have insomnia. Do you have any advice for me?
Well, yeah, there would be several things. It would be easier to say more specifically by looking at your full report, because when it comes to insomnia, it would be a matter of, is it leaning more into your mood and behavior aspect that might need to be looked at? Is it, I would want to know more about your sleep hygiene. And actually we can, you know, maybe you can answer some of this, and I can give you some ideas on how to help with your sleep. Excuse me, when it comes to sleep issues, there are so many moving parts and so many genes, as well as environmental aspects, food, stress, that can all impact sleep. And sleep truly is absolutely foundational when it comes to good health and a good immune system. So I would say,
I'm coming to you, by the way, because I purchased the premium coaching stuff. So
okay, so you're in our you purchased the Genomics Mastery Premium program, yes?
yes.
Wonderful. Are you already in the program working with someone?
Yes, but I only met with Dr. McDonald, Greg McDonald, so far.
Oh, okay. Okay. So this is something that I certainly, you know, could also speak with him, have, you know, a little powwow and maybe have some other ideas, but without knowing a lot of the other details, my recommendations would be a little more general, and I do apologize. It wouldn't be as personalized for you.
No problem. I fall asleep, no problem. But at 1 o'clock, I am up, and many times I cannot go back to sleep. That's my problem.
Okay. Ah, okay. Okay, let me.
And I have very good hygiene. I sleep in the schedule. I have dark rooms. I use mask.
Okay.
All the good stuff.
All right. Okay, because I do have the summary, like a very general report, but it doesn't give me the details. I'm just looking it over right now as far as some things that might be a little more informative for me. Just a moment. Okay, and it does say your circadian rhythm is off. How is your BDNF?
BNF, I have it. Dr. Greg gave it to me, and I take it. You mean this one?
Oh, okay, the supplement. Oh, okay, yes, because I noticed, yes, you do have those. Okay, let me ask you this.
Please.
So you said you go to sleep fine, but you wake up and then it's difficult for you to fall back to sleep.
Yes, doctor, yes.
How long have you been taking the supplements?
I say 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay. And you haven't noticed any difference in your sleep or sleep patterns?
Slightly improved, yes, but I still, for example, last night I slept only 5 hours and I couldn't
Okay.
go back sleep.
Do you have a sleep tracker?
Yes, I do.
Oh, is that a Whoop?
No, it's a Fitbit.
Oh, the Fitbit. Okay.
Yes.
All right. And how much deep sleep are you getting?
I'm getting about, on average, about an hour, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, something like that.
How much REM?
RAM will be the majority, about 70%.
70%. Well, generally the light sleep would take up the majority of the percentage of your sleep.
Yes.
So, but for the REM, because generally it would be anywhere from like, around the 20, 25, maybe 30, if you're really good, percent of your entire sleep REM would take up, as would deep sleep. I mean, that's generally your
For example, yeah, so I have 1 hour of deep sleep. I have 52%, I'm sorry, 3 hours something is RAM. I'm sorry, no. 52, 3 hour minute light sleep. 16% is RAM, I'm sorry.
right. That's okay.
So
Okay.
18% deep, 52 light is 16% RAM.
Okay. And do you have your heart rate variability there?
It should be there, but I do not know how to get it. But it should be there, yes. Oh, yes, heart rate right now. I mean, it was 72.
Oh, no. I meant heart rate variability, because that works into how well you're recovering.
Okay. The minimum was 60 and it went to Cairo Fitness. I know it is today. See, 62 beat per minute. It is.
It's a little hard to see. Okay, it's a little blurry. Okay, so what I'm trying to get at is seeing when you are sleeping, what's the quality? Okay, and it does seem, I mean, actually over an hour of deep sleep is good, because that's when your body is repairing.
Yes.
Okay. And this is something that we want to make sure that stays, above an hour, and even working in closer to an hour and a half and even 2 hours. Okay. As you
great.
sleep. Now, when we're talking about waking up, what time do you wake up?
Usually about around 1 o'clock. So I go to sleep around 9. I wake
Okay.
up or 8:30 every day, consistent. I have good schedule.
Oh, good.
And so sometimes I wake up at 1, sometimes 1:30. This is the time I wake up. And sometimes I'm able to go back to sleep by breathe. I do workout breathing and all these things. And I spend an hour awake reading something not work related. Then I can go to sleep, and sometimes I can't.
Okay, so when you wake up, do you lay in bed trying to fall back asleep?
I try for 20 minutes or so, then I get up, change the room, read things, and use breathing techniques. 7, 4, 7, 8. You know that.
Excellent. Yes, absolutely. Yes, the breath work definitely helps.
And-
Okay, and that's a very good strategy. Because you don't want your brain and body to think that you just lay in bed and and stay awake. I mean, our bodies are just way smarter than our
Yes.
actual conscious minds. So yes, doing that is wonderful. Making sure that any lights that you have are very dim. If
Yeah.
you are reading, not from a screen, because that will
Yes.
downregulate your melatonin. Okay. Another thing is you may want to consider having red lights on when that happens, because any type of brighter light will actually trigger and downregulate that melatonin, and it might be harder to fall back asleep.
So when I read, you want me to read on red light?
If that's possible, or even candlelight, or just something softer.
Okay.
Okay. And also not to have light above the head. Have it lower.
Yeah.
Because that actually, it's very interesting, but there is science behind this, that actually would trigger your brain saying, oh, there's light out above me, it must be daylight, therefore I must wake up. And you already have a dysregulated clock gene.
Yes.
So that's already going to throw things off. And
Yeah.
with your BDNF, because those are tightly linked, that is also something that you have to be very careful of, because it can actually affect your ability to go back to sleep, because that's when you can start ruminating. And as you were saying, that you start thinking about, I heard you say that you think about work or whatever. Is that what you had said? That when you wake up, and that's why you start breathing and doing other things?
No, I read something about health. I don't read about work when I wake up.
Okay.
I don't want to take all the time from other guys, but one more question real quick. I saw on Facebook right now that something I can put like a rim on my head that sends signal to my.
Yes, actually, that was the next thing I was going to mention. It's
Is it
called,
good or bad? I'm worried it damaged my brain.
no, it's called Brain Tap. It
Yes.
is fantastic. Actually, I have mine right behind me. It is a wonderful device. Actually, if someone could put the link in there for him.
Yeah, could you put the link, because I'm worried to get bad one and damage my brain and cause me Alzheimer or something.
No, actually, it does just the opposite. It puts your brain in the wavelength of more of an alpha and theta state. Okay,
Yeah.
it even does the delta. Excuse me, just a moment. No, Dr. Patrick Porter, brilliant. This device, and actually with my neuroscience background, I have done a lot of theoretical research on the brain, on the healing states of frequencies of light and sound.
Yes.
And it is so wonderful actually using this device. And if
Great.
you don't, I'll share with you a little anecdotal thing that had happened. When I was at the biohacking conference in June, I knew about Brain Tap. I've read the research, and I knew theoretically and everything else, the science behind it, and have been recommending it to clients for quite some time. But I didn't have it myself, and I really wanted to use it.
I'd love to have the brand that you're having, doctor. If you can give me the brand that you're using, I'll feel much safer.
Actually, our team put that in the chat. There's the link for Brain Tap, and you can use code 360DNA for 15% off.
Great. Is it shown in the chat now?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, we will have somebody email it to you right now, Bill. So not to worry, it'll be in your email in just a moment.
Great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, sir.
Okay.
So when I was at the biohacking conference, they actually had a huge setup, and I went over, they did a test of my brain to show me the wavelengths and how my brain was functioning. Then I did a 15-minute session with using the Brain Tap. And then they redid the test to show me the diagnostics of, okay, where am I now? It was just amazing, just within that 15 minutes, how my brain went into a more parasympathetic state, that rest and relaxation, which is the state that our bodies need to be in to heal, to tap into creativity and thought and memory. But that's not even the biggest thing. What ended up happening when I was flying from Florida to Arizona, because I went to go visit my mother for her 80th birthday.
Yes.
I ended up getting stuck in the Austin airport for 7 hours.
Ouch.
And I will tell you, because of my particular profile, I'm one that can get some overwhelming burnout from a lot of stimulation. Okay.
Mhm.
And anytime at an airport, very stimulating. After 7 hours, I was fatigued. I had a headache and I just did not feel that great.
Yes.
And I thought to myself, what am I doing? I have my brain tap in my carry-on. So what I did at the gate, I got a seat off to the side and I ended up doing 2 sessions. So about 35 minutes worth of the brain tap. When I was done that, oh my gosh, my headache was gone. My fatigue level was way down. I felt amazing. I was just like, holy crap, this is incredible. Again, my scientific brain is like, I know the theoretical aspects, I know the science behind it, but to actually experience it, to feel that was it was amazing. I'm just like, oh my gosh. So I've been telling people, that really was the major clincher for me, when it came to really feeling the benefits of it. And then that night when I got to Arizona, I used it the next morning, used it morning and night when I was there, along with the grounding mat. And I'll tell you what, I did not have jet lag.
Oh, I love that.
Amazing. Yes. I was just like, this is so cool.
You know what, Dr. Vernon, if it work, I'm gonna send you 2 tickets to Hawaii for you and your hobby, because that the thing that drive me nuts. So I owe you these 2. If it work, you got 2 tickets to Hawaii.
Oh, you are so sweet, Bill. Well, I'll tell you, I truly believe in this product, and they've got part of the cost when you purchase the headset, you get a year membership for their site, for their app. Okay. And they've got hundreds of different types of sessions, depending on what you want. If you want something that gives you more energy and more concentration, if you are dealing with PTSD, they have something for that. If you want to have better deep sleep or better sleep, I'm telling you, it's fantastic. I mean, I even had my daughter and daughter-in-law try it, and with just after 1 session, they were like, oh my God, this is amazing. So,
but it will not affect my Alzheimer or something down the road.
no, not at all.
Okay.
Like I said, if anything, it puts your brain in a state of healing. It puts your brain in that parasympathetic aspect. So, and if anything, totally beneficial.
Love it. Grateful. Thank you so much. Wait for the ticket to Hawaii before.
You are so sweet.
Right.
All right. Thank you so much, Bill.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, doctor. I think you've come to the end of your patient list for this evening.
Yes. All right. Guys, it was a pleasure. This was fun. I really like this.
This was fun because it's first time that I can talk to the doctor right away directly. So thank you so much. Grateful, and I'm really looking forward for that success, because it's gonna make huge difference in my life.
Absolutely. I hope so.
I'm sure it will.
Have a wonderful.
And I hope I can talk to you when down the road when I go through my coaching stuff. I'm not sure if I signed to you or not.
Absolutely, Bill. We will connect you with Dr. Barton. Absolutely.
Beautiful. Great. Thank you so much. And how many sessions do I get? I know I have 5 sessions with Dr. McDonald's for the different section. How many sessions do I get with Dr. Varden?
Well, your 5 sessions are with Dr. McDonald. I'm looking at your program now, but we can definitely put together a half hour where you can do a Zoom with Dr. Varden and just get some oversight once you have completed your program with Dr. McDonald.
Okay, but what else do I am entitled to after McDonald and Dr. Varden? What other stuff I'm entitled to?
You still have coaching, even though you do the initial 5 hours with Dr. McDonald. You still have additional coaching, individual calls with Dr. McDonald for several months thereafter.
Okay, but I was told that I'm gonna follow with other doctor as well.
Right, and Dr. Varden will do the follow-up appointment at the end. So you get both of those things.
Okay, great.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Barton. Thank you all very much for coming. It's been really educational as always. And we'll let you close it out, Doctor.
Perfect. Again, I want to thank each of you for taking the time this evening to spend with me, to learn. I learn from all of you as well, and I truly appreciate this time. I am very grateful that each one of you are here, and I'm so glad I got to spend the time with each of you. I wish you the very best and hope to see you more in the future. If you want any sessions with me, or if you aren't already in a program, please take a look at the services that we do offer. We'll drop the link in the chat one more time, and you can always sign up for one of our programs and you can request me. All right.
Thank you very
fabulous
much.
evening.
Thank you.
So much.
All right.
Thank you all. Have a good weekend.
Thank you. Thank you so much.